And we'll start it off with the pledge. The flag's in the back. If everyone would stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, welcome. There is a sign-in sheet going around. We have some agendas up here as well. Welcome to pass those around or grab them as you would like. We'll do some introductions here. My name is Andy Hunthausen. I'll be chairing the meeting today. To my left, Commissioner Tom Rolfe. To Tom's left is Jenny Chambers. She's the Director of Public Works. And Kevin Horn, who is whenever so all things roads and bridges and whatnot, right? Sure. There you go. To my right is Candace Payne. She is Commissioner Candace Payne.
Yeah, right.
No deputy about it.
No deputy. And you know what? This is the last meeting wherein that will be leader. I get to be chairman starting in January.
Yeah, so you know where the deputy is next. Deputy Taylor is next. Introducing Deputy Taylor. Welcome. Thanks for being here from the Sheriff's Office. We also have Dinah from the Health Department, so we'll be introducing her in a little bit here. And Betsy's back here running our audio visual. She's our communications person. And just want to recognize Representative Worth is here today with us. Welcome, Representative Worth. Glad you're here. So we'll continue on. A couple of
This next couple of months. That's his wife, but so
Oh, okay, great. Oh, great.
front row seats.
All right. We're, and it's representative, right? Senator, I'm sorry. Senator Gillespie, welcome. We just did introductions and someone said you were coming in the door, so I wanted to introduce you.
We learned enough, we found out a whole bunch of other stuff to do.
Well, welcome. So to let you know where we are, we just finished the pledge and introductions up here. I'm Commissioner Hunthausen, Commissioner Rolfe, Commissioner Payne, and we welcome everyone here today.
I'm very
Very nice to meet you. Thank you for being here today. All right, just a note for those that aren't regular attenders. We have our audio visual going on over here, and I even have people to blame it on. Look at this. Our legislature in the last legislative session said that local governments must record a video of our meetings, so we're going to ask.
Don't we have to keep it? There's no ending. Do we have to keep it?
That's a different.
Perpetuity. Oh, I love
You're chairing next year.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Keep her lined up.
Well, it's hard to do. So anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that if we'll be going through, we'll have some presentations from different folks here, and then if there is public comment on the items we have, we're going to ask people to come up to the podium so Betsy can make sure we get it on the record well, and we'll ask you to introduce yourselves and give your testimony. Often we have a smaller crowd here, and we used to kind of have a back and forth. It was all recorded, but we'd have a back and forth right from your seats. So we've changed that. We're using the podium now, so just a reminder. And we'll start today with reports from the Sheriff's Office. So Deputy Taylor, hi, guys, snuck in on me. I didn't even see Sheriff Dutton's here. I didn't even see you come in. Sheriff Dutton, Sheriff Porter Dutton's here today. Welcome, Sheriff. Welcome. Beautiful member. Thank you, Deputy Taylor. I didn't even see you.
Morning, everybody. I'm Deputy Devin Taylor with the Lewis and Clark County Sheriff's Office. I'm the Augusta resident deputy for those of you that may not know. So I do live up here while I'm working during my work weeks, and then I live in East Helena the rest of the time. So thanks for coming today, and I don't have a whole lot for you. Augusta's been fairly quiet for the most part with all the hunters gone. Not a whole lot going on up here. We have received the Sheriff's Office, myself personally, I know the Sheriff has received some complaints about speeders again in the downtown area. I've been trying to address that sitting downtown there, stopping people. Unfortunately, a lot of people I stop are locals, And some of those even admittedly have said, yeah, I'm one of the persons who's been complaining about speeders, so. It happens, so, also I've noticed a big increase on speeds on especially Sun Canyon, and the reason why people have been telling me, oh, the road's so smooth out here now.
Yeah.
So, but I'll get people out there 60, 70
That
miles an hour
compliment
quite
always
often.
works.
So yeah, so I guess that's pretty cool. So, need a bump here. One thing I did wanna mention, those of you who might be going away for the holidays, Christmas, over, the New Year's and everything, if you want me to keep an eye on your house, please just let me know, give me a call, send me a text, let somebody know, and I'll, make sure that I drive by your place and check on it, make sure everything's good and safe. So, other than that, I don't think I have anything else, but I'm sure the sheriff's got something for you.
All right,
Thanks, Kevin.
thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'll introduce myself, just in case I haven't met someone. My name's Leo Dutton, Sheriff Coroner Fire Warden. Apparently, there are some people that didn't know I was a fire warden. So, the Augusta Fire Department is looking at doing some redistricting and things like that, and they were wondering who the fire warden was. Wow. I guess it's another job that goes unsaid. Anyway, so I'll be asking for another raise. I'll get the same answer I got before, but the answer is always no unless you ask. Anyway, Helen has been busy, and you got the report from your deputy up here. Our detention, or jail if you will, has went down from we were at emergency stage again. We were at 210, and we're 160 full. 160 was the population this morning. And if you're wondering, what are we just out there filling it like grabbing chickens and throwing them in a coop? No, that's not it. We don't commit the crimes. We get called when that happens. One thing that I want to cover, and I talk about this, is Lewis and Clark County and Montana is growing. Our population has grown substantially. As that happens, there's always a element that comes along there that doesn't follow the rules. Didn't learn how to color inside the lines when they were young, and they don't do it when they got older. So sometimes they think that your property is their property, and they get confused about that. Remember though, that when we get them in there, that more than likely they will be released back into your communities. Those are things that you need to remember. If I've heard some people say, man, put them in there and pump sunshine to them and just leave them there. They're coming back, and I don't operate that way. If we can make them better by offering certain things, make what ultimately it does is make your life better. If they can see different things, and it's not by, we don't have the Hug a Thug program, but if you'd like one, you can certainly come by and help us start one. That's not what this is. It's the ability to reason. And some of these people are so invested in narcotics, those kind of things, that it takes a while to reason with that. But we work with that because that's why you hire us to do. I'm trying to think of great and fun news. This Saturday, we'll have what they call Heroes and Helpers. We've identified probably 100 families that will not have a Christmas. So the deputies realize that, they forward the names off, and then we've been out fundraising with private funds all year. And there are several stores, Target, there's a shoe store next to that, was it Payless Shoes, and Home Depot all partner with us. So when the family brings us their child, first thing they do is get to go shopping with a cop. Now here's what I want you to remember, is we don't head to that, for all the times I've been doing this, we don't head to the candy aisle. That's where you think you're going, is that, okay, 10-pound chocolate bar, here we go. They get $100 to spend. The first thing they pick out is something for a brother, sister, mother, or father. And generally it's a mother, because the father is absent. And that bothers my soul to hear that we have absentee fathers, but that's a fact of life. That's what we're dealing with. Then we head to the clothing. They just want a coat. They just want something to be warm. They might even pick out a pair of socks. They got bigger rows of candy than you probably have. Of course, I don't know, it's Christmas time and some of you are bakers beyond belief, but these kids pick out practical things. They get $100 to spend. Now, the only time that I really had a difficult time is when I took I think she was 10 years old, young lady, just fun. But I'm telling you, no insult to the ladies, but it's genetic. Women cannot pick out a pair of shoes right away. We went into, no offense, but we went into Payless Shoes, and we got 10 boxes out there, and time's an element, because we got kids stacking up there. And the Lord sent me a sales lady, says, I can help you with this. Hallelujah, thank you, I can't do this. Anyway, she looked at more shoes, and you know what? She got the first pair she looked at. So I'm kind of the idea, and I know what I want. I'm not gonna try on 10 pairs, but you know what? It was a highlight of her life, that she got to go in and choose all from there, not just be told what to get. So those are things, the highlights that we get, and they're called heroes and helpers. And so the firemen come, sheriff's office is there, the Helena Police Department. I know, everybody loves a fireman, so it's easy when they see the fireman. Oh boy. Anyway, we have a little collegial competition between the firemen and us all the time, but respect for both. So there's different things coming along, the Christmas holidays. Remember, this might be someone's Christmas holiday the very first time they've spent without a loved one. This might be. So if you see somebody looking gloom around the holidays, it's probably not because they're a bah humbug. It's probably because this is their first Christmas without their husband, without their wife, without a child. Ask about that first. That might be the case. The other thing that's going to be soon is the legislature is in session. We might, I used to hear that, you could mail everything down and it still wasn't safe, but we might have a legislator around. You gotta have some faith that your voice will be heard if you have an issue and you want to peaceably assemble. That's guaranteed in the Constitution. But if you're throwing sticks and stones, I know the old saying, may not hurt me, but you'll get arrested. So, the other thing is, people think, now it's just about Christmas time, people think when they see me that I know that if you've been naughty or nice. I probably don't, but you think it. So just remember, I maintain, I know who's been naughty and nice. There's a little bit of a list. Anyway, we hope you have a great Christmas holiday, celebrate it for the reason of the season, and thank you. I return the podium back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Sheriff. And I know I'm on his list. If you do have public comment or questions for the Sheriff's Office, please come up, and if you'd give us your name for the record, just jump right in there like he was. There you go.
I have a public comment for this gentleman. I've known him since.
Can you give us your name for the record?
My name is Barbara Warnick,
Thank you.
and I've known this man since the 80s. We flew lots of search and rescue missions together. And I will tell you, Leo has been giving back to the community for a very, very long time, and always with goodwill. Thank you, Leo, for everything that you've done. It's nice to see you.
Thank you, and you work just as hard, so appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments for the Sheriff's
If you've
Office?
got good things to say, come on up. If you have poor things to say, my undersheriff will be in his office in about an hour.
So I won't bring up the fact that Leo gets airsick.
Thanks, Leo. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on. Thank you, Sheriff. Public Works.
Good morning, Commissioners, Chairman Chairman. For the record, my name is Jenny Chambers, Lewis County Public Works Director. I'll give you some updates on public works just globally within the area, and then we'll talk a little bit about the Birdtail Road, Fire Creek Bridge at the tail end. So first off, we have a crushing contract up here in Augusta to get some materials for the roads. We just talked to them on the driving on the way up. They finished crushing the 20,000 tons of gravel material that we need. They're the county road mix in order to do the lower portion of Sun Canyon Road. So that work should be done this spring timeframe, because the contract I think ends in July for our hauling contract with that work. So county road crews will be up here later this spring on the start of the season in order to do that work on the lower Sun Canyon. So that's not gonna actually help the deputy out much, because that's just gonna be another stretch of road it's gonna be fast and it's a lot smoother. But then that's the work we need to do on Sun Canyon Road. So just to give you a heads up on that. Also, we're ready for winter. So the crew's been preparing for winter. All of the different locations, whether that's Wolf Creek or Lincoln or Augusta, we've got material hauled up here. We've got sand installed, stockpiled for the roads, and the snowplow's ready to go. Plus our seasonal hire is ready to help Lewis, our equipment operator up here, as the weather hits us this winter. So just want to let you guys know that we're ready for the winter when it comes. All the equipment's been maintained and prepared, and the stuff for the summer season maintenance has been done. The water trucks and stuff have been put away for at least this area up here moving forward. On the bridge front, I do have some good news I think to pass on the Augusta Clemens Bridge. As you guys are aware, that's also a load limit bridge in Augusta that's impacting those landowners around the Augusta Clemens. We were working the last year on the MSEP grant application, Montana Coal Endowment Program grant application, with the planning grant associated with that bridge, and then get it in the queue for MSEP funding for construction of those dollars. It is currently ranked #1 in the grant application through the legislature for that long range bills for funding for that project. So we'll see how session goes. It's gonna be up to the legislators on how they authorize those fundings based upon those projects. But our grant application scored very well, and it's ranked pretty high based upon the criteria associated with that grant. So if we get that grant money, then that will be a project we get awarded after the end of session. It takes about a year and a half for finalizing the design, and then we'll be on the work to get that bridge completed. So just want to let you know on that, because that was basically between that one and the Flat Creek Bridge, they were our #1 priorities up in Augusta country. So trying to make progress on all that. The other success we had, I think, just globally within the county, Senate Bill 536 money was a pot of money the legislators approved last session. With the different pot of money, we got some money to match our Head Lane Bridge in Helena. We also got 2 recent grant funding from MDT, about $250,000 for some quick fix repairs on 2 bridges, one outside of York, Montana, and another one that's by the Dearborn. So without that money, we wouldn't have the money in the coffers to do those work, and those are just quick fix type maintenance repairs in order to extend the life of those particular bridges, and that came with also getting some successful grant applications into MDT. So we're pretty good at grant applications when there's money available, and we're able to go after those based upon the timing. Sometimes it takes longer for those to move forward. So I wanted to highlight some of those successes we've had basically the last couple months on that front with those projects. On the Flat Creek Bridge, I know many of you are here today to talk about that bridge, and we are making progress. It's gonna be still slow moving forward. That's why Kevin came up with me, Kevin Horn, my road bridge sign shop operations manager, so we could take some look on the ground this morning. We also met with our consultant engineer with Great West Engineering this morning before we came up for Government Day to take a look at not to look at the bridge. The bridge is historical bridge. We're not gonna be able to repair the bridge with any kind of, but to look for a bridge replacement and or look at options for basically a different type and size and location that might be a cheaper bridge than what that bridge would be if we replaced it where it was at. So when you think nowadays in 2024 compared to when that bridge was in place, there's a ton of environmental regulations that exist. Thinking of working with the Fish, Life, and Parks on the water impacts associated with that bridge. Depending on what we do with the high water mark, you have Army Corps and Engineer permitting that's required. We have to do wetlands delineation out there on that bridge area in order to get the bridge accomplished. And then the other complicated thing is the bridge that currently exists is a historical bridge based upon the age of it, so we have to work through SHPA, the State Historical Preservation Officer. So all those things factored into the bigger picture, we're trying to look at what the alternatives would be to see if there's something that we can do, that we can cut off one of those different regulatory agencies. If we don't do dredge and fill, if we don't go into the high water mark, if we can get a bridge that can span across the threshold, then we don't have to go through some of those permitting agencies. If we leave the existing bridge in place, do a bridge in a different location, and reroute the road a little bit, then we don't have to deal with the State Historical Preservation Officer. So we are making progress on that. So we met on the site this morning. We have we're gonna get a contract in place probably next week or the week after in order to get the project moving. Regardless, they move forward as we work with commissioners to get that contract in place, and then we'll get some alternatives on some options and some design. The long-term bridge replacement may take a little bit longer. What we're trying to work with the landowner on Dearborn Ranch, and I wanna talk to Art Thompson afterwards as well, is to try to get a temporary location to do a detour that would allow some heavier trucks and heavier loads while we keep the other bridge open for vehicle traffic. So if we can make that happen sooner than later, that's our plan, is to try to get some landowner access agreement, do something with an alternative temporary situation. Again, working with the regulatory agencies on what permits may or may not be allowed to do that. Because a temporary to them is maybe 1 year. A temporary to us on this particular project might be 3 years. So we're just trying to work through that on what that looks like. In regardless, Commissioner, regardless if we had the money today, if I had $2 million in the coffer today, we still would have to work with those regulatory agencies. We still would have to do a design. We still would have to look at hydraulics. We'd still probably be a year and a half at least out in order to get construction done. So we're just trying to find the best solution to move forward based on the time that things take.
Thank you. I was just gonna ask about the engagement with the engineer. The reason for doing that is to kind of develop, right now, kind of high-level options and what might be possible. Is that correct? Or would it be-
Commissioner, it's both. It's twofold. That's the first immediate opportunity, is to look at the temporary solution for the bridge, while we're still having them working on the long-term solution on the bridge replacement. So if you do a land survey on survey legal boundaries, we might as well do that for both. We might as well do that for the detour and what we're gonna need for the bridge replacement. If we do a wetlands delineation, we might as well do that for both. When we determine in hydraulics, we might as well do that for both. So yes, it's
I just
not to
wanted to
slow
explain
down
that a
the
little
process, but you're out in the area anyway doing the work, and just trying to utilize the resources the best available.
So prior to asking for folks to engage, anything further, commissioners, any questions at this time? Anything you guys wanna add? Anything you wanna add, Kevin?
I could say a couple things, I guess. Thanks, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, good morning, everybody. The folks that don't know me, my name's Kevin Horn. I've been given the privilege of overseeing our road, bridge, and all of our operations across Lewis and Clark County, and it's a big county. It's 3,500 square miles, so keeps me hopping periodically. Just a quick background on myself. I've only been at the county about, I think, coming on 7 years now. My background's in heavy civil construction. I came out of Helena Sand and Gravel. In Helena there, I did about 28 years there, managing projects. I was just thinking, when I was sitting there, when we built the road coming through Augusta here, the role that I played in that, I wasn't the project manager for that project, but I was on the material supply end for all the concrete and aggregates when we built this. I was trying to think of the year. I thought probably that 09 era, somewhere in there. But anyhow, that's a little bit on me. I wanted to just touch on Sun Canyon. As Deputy Taylor indicated, I get those calls every day about speeding. The smoother we make it, the faster they drive. But that was a plan I should say, we put in place on preservation of that road over the course of time. Our funding, how we get our funding, I'd like everybody to realize that road and bridge money are two different pots, okay? Bridge money is always out of our general fund, whereas the road dollars come out of some property taxes, hovers around 4%, give or take, and then some of our mill levy dollars. So on Sun Canyon, we noticed a need for that with all the recreational traffic, and it's hard to keep 16 miles of road in good shape, as you well know. Our man Lewis is up here as a one-man band, and talked to Mr. Barrett a little bit about him this morning, and I can't tell you how good a job that guy does single-handedly with all the miles of road that we have up here. We miss him when he's gone, that's for sure. You can't replace people like that can grade 5 miles in a day and take care of what he does. But Sun Canyon itself is a revolving, so we've had some big federal land access program grant dollars in the past to help us out with gravel and stuff on that road. And we implemented a plan about 4 years ago to keep maintaining that infrastructure over the course of time. And what I mean by that is, you notice magnesium chloride on that road that helps with the dust. It also helps keep our gravel intact for a longer period of time. So we broke that road out into 3 different sections over the last 3 years. Like Jenny was saying, the gravel for the last 20,000 tons is crushed right now. To put that into perspective, 20,000 tons doesn't seem like a huge number, or maybe it does seem like a big number. That'll do about 6 miles of road. So that's gonna get us basically from the Neil Ranch all the way down to the asphalt on this go around. As far as the bridge goes, the Birdtail, just a couple comments on that. When that email crossed my desk from MDT, it's one of the toughest situations that we at the county get put into. The State Bridge Bureau is the one that dictates what happens with our bridges, anything over 20 feet. They load rate those, everything goes through them. And when we got the email, we immediately, Jenny and I and Dan Carlin, our engineer, sat down. It's like, what are we gonna do with this? You know, we know we're very sincere when we say how it affects businesses and how it affects homeowners, and all of you folks are here today. It was tough on us. The serpentine that we built only can accommodate single vehicular traffic. So the ultimatum to us was, you figure out how to keep that load limit to where it needs to be, or else you close the bridge. And closing the bridge is not feasible for us right now. We can't do that. It's one way in, one way out. We've really put our heads together a lot. You know, I felt kind of bad. I left right after that on a vacation that I had planned. My father's 76 years old, and his time in the backcountry is getting limited. I just want everybody to rest assured that it is on my forefront, and I know it's on Jenny's forefront, and we are facilitating things as quickly as we possibly can. I've had numerous conversations with the Dearborn Ranch, and we have a lot of ideas, and we have to have our engineers help us with that. That's why Carl was out there, Yakovich, with Great West today, trying to figure out locations, trying to figure out spans. When, like Jenny said, we're up against all this environmental and all this permitting process, we're trying to find ways that we can facilitate around that to get a detour in place for, you know, propane trucks and emergency vehicles. So Senate Bill 536, she talked a little bit about. I know we have some representatives here today. You know, it would be really nice in the next session if they throw another $100 million at the state. We capitalized on some of that program on some of our other bridges. We have 110 structures across Lewis and Clark County. 6% of them are over 80 years old, 21% of them are over 60 years old. Counties need that funding across the state to help with bridge replacements. I mean, that's cut and dried, and it takes our elected officials to help us with that across the board. So any help that we can get on that is greatly appreciated. We've been able to capitalize on Senate Bill 536 for numerous projects. Our Head Lane project had a 5-ton limit with a higher ADT. When I say ADT, that's average daily traffic, how many cars are passing over that bridge on a given day. Had a high ADT, and we were able to capitalize on some of that Senate Bill 536 money in the tune of around $750,000 to help with that bridge replacement. We were also successful, the Craig River Bridge, the longest bridge right now spanning the Missouri River is in Craig. Only second to the Fort Benton Bridge, which does not allow vehicular traffic anymore, it's just a walking bridge. That bridge was in desperate need of some design work, and Senate Bill 536 quick fix money in the tune of about 150 grand has helped us out on that. So that's why that's important to us as counties to have help on that funding piece of it. As we get some reports back the first part of the week from our consultants on the Birdtail, I have a lot of thoughts. It's going to take the Dearborn Ranch, Tom Siebel, maybe Mr. Thompson, to work with to see what we can do to get a bypass put around that. We'll reach out to as many bridge contractors as we possibly can if we need materials or whatever it might be, but it's a mission of mine and it's a mission of Jenny's right now to help you folks out to the best of our capabilities. So nothing happens fast, I know. If anybody that knows me, I'm kind of a ramrodder. I get things done and I push hard to do that, and the same with Jenny. So I just want everybody to know that we're in your court and we're doing everything we can to give you guys a hand on that. We understand how it affects your business, your livelihood, everything that goes with that, you guys. So I'm always free for conversation. I've talked to a lot of people in this room. If anybody has any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, ideas to help us through the process, we're kind of in it together, and you got a good team of people working on it. I can rest assure you that. Great West has been doing a lot of our bridge work for over 30 years. They actually built our bridge program back in the day. Carl Yakovich, I can't say enough about him. I have the utmost respect for him. One of the finest engineers around when it comes to bridges, in my opinion. So we'll push it, and I'd be happy to entertain any questions that you guys might have. But that's kind of where we're at on the Birdtail piece.
Thank you, Kevin, appreciate it. Commissioners, any questions for Kevin or Jenny at this point, or any comment?
I can make a comment. When I first came, I'm in my, the end of my second year as a commissioner, I had no idea the creativity that our bridge department and Public Works has. I think there were 3 bridges 2 years ago that all needed to be replaced, and they paid good money for the biggest bridge, but then they used that one and they fixed the bridge over this one, and then they used that one. So you talk about recycling. These people recycle as much as they can. They're really creative in their thinking, and I want to compliment you on that, and have you recognized that this is not an easy job, and if you can figure out a way to, shoestring this together, that'd be good, but.
Appreciate the sign words, Commissioner.
Thank you. And just to comment as well, I think you alluded to this both in your comments that, we can't really, the 100 bridges we have, we can't really replace those or do major maintenance on those without our partners. And I'm glad we have the legislators here today, because without the help of the state of Montana and ultimately federal dollars coming through, whether it's pass-through or direct dollars, there's just no way. I mean, these bridges, well, we just did the Dalton Mountain Bridge in Lincoln, and it was over $4 million to go over the Blackfoot there, and it took us 6 years to get that all in place, and we used off-system, MDT off-system, road bridge money and MSAP money, and some that we matched with. So it's a complicated thing, and it is very expensive. And some of these communities, well, I'll use Lincoln as an example. I mean, if we were just talking about, well, they pay taxes, we should just be able to replace that bridge. Well, if we look at what that community's paid in county, the taxes that go to the county, not overall property taxes, but just over the ones that go to the running of the county, they don't even come close to that $4 million project. We still have to grade all the roads and fix all the other bridges and cattle guards, or whatever it might be, all through the system in that area, and all the equipment. I mean, one snowplow, one grader, those things are hundreds of thousands of dollars. So without partnerships and help and these kind of long-term building of how are we going to finance this next big ask, it's complicated. And so just helping people understand that process sometimes is challenging. So anyway, I'll leave that alone. But I'm sure there are a lot of people here that would like to ask questions or make comment, and if we could come up one at a time to the podium and direct your question to either the commissioner or our folks here. They're the experts. We brought them for that purpose. When we get questions, we ask them, so we're glad that you're all here. Of course, we're very interested in solving this issue as many of the others that we have always have throughout the county. So, whomever's first, please come on up. Introduce yourself again for the record, please, and
So,
We're all
my name
yours.
is Barbara Warnick. I retired from the Montana Department of Transportation after 34 years. I contacted my friend Larry Flynn, who's the Assistant Director at the Department of Transportation, and he transferred me to Ryan Dalkey. And while I don't know Ryan, the name was familiar to me. And I talked with him about the meeting that we had at the bridge. He was aware that this bridge was in trouble, that this bridge has been in trouble since 1999. And he stated that the funds using Senate Bill 536 were available. And he also point blank said the process is very simple. So my question is, has funds been asked for through Senate Bill 536 for this specific project?
But what we can do is, why don't we take all public comment, we'll answer all the questions we can when everyone's done.
Oh,
So
okay.
just
And-
go ahead and make all your public comment, ask your questions.
Okay.
We'll track those and then.
So what he gave me the process here, he said that he had not personally talked to anybody about this. He knew about the bridge, he knew that it had been condemned. I asked him if anybody from this part of the country had contacted him, and he said no. I will tell you, I live in Cascade County. This is a process that has to include Cascade County and Lewis and Clark County, and he gave me the process for this, of which I am happy to hand over to whoever it needs to be. This road cannot be closed for 2 years. One of our residents over here that road is a lifeline for her. The road to Sims, that Birdtail road out to Sims, states clearly in several places, this road is impassable if it's wet. Sullivan Mountain closes in a snowstorm. It's impassable. The road to the bridge is the best way in and out of there, and Carol Schaefer has no way in and out of there except this. And now, if we get 6 inches of snow and a 40-mile-an-hour wind with the concrete abutments that's in there, somebody's gonna need a shovel, and I don't see one now. And so I'm not confronting anybody. I use that road a lot, as well as the other people. The ranchers use it to get their ins and outs and whatever. It can't be a 4-year project. This is a lifeline for people. It has to be. I was told at the last meeting of the bridge that in order to get emergency funds, we would have to contact the governor's office. When I talked to my people at MVP and brought that up, they just went, huh, wow. And that was the end of their conversation. I don't know what your job is. I don't have that job. I'm retired. I don't want your job. I'm just saying this can't be a 4-year project or a 6-year project. And why, if it was condemned in 1999, has it not been dealt with until now? That's my question.
Thank you very much for your comment. Other public comment, other folks that want to, any other questions, comments, please come up to the podium and introduce yourself. Welcome.
I'm Joe Barrett. The bridge directly affects our operation. I want to thank the senator and representative for being here. I appreciate it. Commissioners, thank you. Commissioner Rolfe for coming out to the bridge and looking the roads over and getting a feeling for it. You mentioned it was in 1990s. My information that the county was told 47 years ago that the bridge needed replaced. I have real trouble understanding how commissioners could go for 47 years talking about 50-year-old bridges in the county. This one's needed replaced for that long. I guess my one question, the cement that you put up that's gonna block the snow, you've got steel posts in the road, so nobody can get through there. Would it be possible to remove those cement abutments so that at least have a place for the snow to get out? I'm glad to hear you're talking about a detour. I'd like to see it a little more than just talk. We've gotta get it done, folks. You just have to get it done. And, I guess that's my question for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett. Appreciate your comment. Others, any other public comment? Please. Any other public comment? Senator, Representative, either one of you would like to share any wisdom with us? Please. Welcome.
Well, welcome everybody, and thanks for having this. And I guess one question would be that the 100 million caught my attention, so maybe later I might have you expound on that just a little bit. That'll fix all of our problems across the state. Hate to say it, might be a bargain, but I know everything is so darn expensive, but I'm sure, and just so everybody knows, I'm Butch Gillespie, Bruce officially, but go by Butch, but we live up on the High Line, and in case some of you are wondering what in the world are you doing way down here from the High Line, you're actually about in the middle of my district anymore with redistricting, because it used to be my Senate district went down as far as Craig on the interstate there. Now with redistricting, it goes all the way down to Lincoln Road in North Helena. So anyway, you're kind of the center point now. You're not far south, you're just in the center of my district. But it mentioned that there's more people in Montana, but yet in rural, small town, small community Montana, it's still taking more territory to gather up the total number of people that we represent, which is a little over 20,000, 22,000, something like that anyway. But it's just that everything in the eastern side of Montana takes more people to get that, but in the big cities, their little tiny districts geographically are literally shrinking because there's so many more people there. So anyway, but my deal is small towns, rural communities. I guess I reflect back, I was here about a year ago helping with an FFA livestock judging event, and it was darn sight colder then than it was right today. So you do have warmer weather. But other than that, I'm sure Zach feels the same, but anything we can do to help out the cause, we're all for it. So, because this is small town rural Montana, and we gotta have these roads, we gotta have these bridges. So I'm glad we have a little extra money that can be, that was thrown at doing stuff like this last term, and hopefully there'll be some this time too. But anything any you have, we're here to, we're here to listen, put it that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Appreciate you being here today. Representative Worth, please, yes.
Always mindful of the camera. I'm Zach Worth, I represent House District 17, and Augusta is about in the center of that district with reapportionment. I'm glad to hear that you're looking at some quick fixes and they're not gonna be quick, but they're as quick as they can possibly make. I think that's great. That's what we wanted in the first place. Well, I think everybody here understands the history, everybody here understands that we can kick it down the road. I think everybody's just looking for a solution, but there is only one way in or out. One thing that I need you to be aware of and remind the engineer is that water is introduced into Flat Creek. It's not a perfectly natural stream as it looks. And the engineers don't understand that there's a canal that comes out of the Dearborn that feeds into Flat Creek. And all the irrigators up and down Flat Creek utilize that water from the Dearborn. So you're kind of looking at a little bit of an oddball. Also, when you talk about environmental issues, if that's talked about, I think that'll alleviate some of your environmental issues, because there's a large amount of water that's fed into there. I don't know the gallons. Joey would be a lot more aware of the gallons or cubic feet per minute, all of that type of thing. Highway 200 has 2 culverts underneath it for that same stream. They're about 16 by 9 arched culverts, and I just think that is a good selling point when you're talking to your environmental people. Just looking at that. As far as the historical aspect, I know there's a lot of people, do-gooders. I would remind everybody that the Craig Bridge is still sitting on the highway as it faces out. So I think that's a pretty good argument that everybody's got a good idea. Everybody's got a good, we don't want to see this go away, we don't want to see this. But time goes on. You know, our people are born and people pass away all the time. Bridges, roads, line of sight, safety improvements, all of that is all part of that. So do what you can. I think Butch and I I think we both voted for, I'm pretty sure we voted positive on House Bill for that 100 House Bill, Senate Bill 566. And it's been a great program. A lot of people have accessed it. It's been a good gap filler. And I think we can do it here too. We'll support that. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Anyone else? Last chance before we pass it back to answer some questions or kind of respond. All right.
Okay. Commissioner, again, Jenny Chambers, Public Works Director. I'll try to do my best to address all your guys' comments and questions and double check with them that there's nothing else I need to address. But Barbara, to first go through your questions and kind of look at that. Yeah, like Kevin said, we don't take it lightly to try to make changes on impacts of bridge. I mean, we know it can't last as long as the typical span on time it takes to get this stuff accomplished. So we're going to do everything we possibly can to move that forward. After we got the letter from MDT, I did call MDT and I called the bureau chief of the Bridge Bureau at MDT to talk with them. I'm not going to get into more dynamics about what that conversation went. I first had to leave a couple voicemail messages in order to get back to him, but we will certainly follow up on MDT moving forward. We have checked with MDT on the Senate Bill 536 funding or any other funding that they have, like off-system bridge dollars. Like Commissioner Hunthausen indicated, we used some of the off-system bridge funding from MDT for the Dalton Mountain Bridge. And so we've been talking to their grants persons and their budget people as around if there's any other dollars available. We did apply for the quick fix money. That's the money that we found out was available with those phone calls for the other 2 bridges, the Craig River Bridge and the one in York. The pot of money that we would have for a replacement bridge, they don't have that. That didn't have, our understanding is they didn't have that money or that volume of money available. So when you're talking $1.2 to $1.4 million, that they said they didn't necessarily have that money available at this time. So doesn't mean that we won't have the opportunities in the future. If the legislature gets additional money moving forward, they might have another pot of money. If we can try to match it with additional money once we have a design in place, that might be a possibility. So we will continue working with our partners at MDT, because I do call them our partners. We're able to get these projects to move things forward and try to keep pressure on that from that standpoint. So I think that's where we're at with those conversations. So we'll keep you more posted as we move forward. So did I address all of Barbara's questions on the?
Well, there's a couple others that I was thinking of during. One, we're not just looking at replacement, we're looking at the potential of a detour, another route or something. I mean, that hasn't been identified yet, but you're looking at that possibility.
Right.
If we have to go the long route to, the multi-year route to replace the bridge, is there an alternative? And
right.
You're looking at that as well. The other thing, there's no intention to close this bridge. It has to be limited or it's could potentially be a health and safety risk. So we have to limit the weight, right? I mean, you're
Right,
not intending to close the bridge. So is there gonna be a way out if someone had to get to the hospital and get to, in their car?
Right.
Getting a cement truck across is a whole nother deal.
Yeah, Chairman,
It's not
that's
gonna
correct. Unless something changes in the future. I mean, I can't, MDT is the inspector that makes the bridge move forward. They
Right.
sent us a letter saying you have to control enforcement on that bridge. If you can't control the load limit of enforcement on that bridge, you need to close it. So we said, well, there's not a lot of access availability there. What can we do to prevent closure of the bridge today? That's the serpentine that you go through in order to allow transportation and some traffic through that area. We're looking at a detour to try to help with those heavier loads, those emergency type vehicles in the interim. MDT, my understanding, doesn't have funding available to help us with the temporary solution. They will maybe help with long-term replacement funding if we get to that point in this stage of the game, but we will continue those conversations with MDT.
The other thing I heard that maybe we can put our heads together and figure out is some way to do snow removal when it gets drifted. I don't know if that's a local contractor that has a four-wheeler with a plow on it or something. I mean, some way to address that, but if we could address that somehow. I mean, I'm just making that up, but there's gotta be a way to.
Chairman, I missed Barbara's comment on the snow removal, and I talked about that the last month at the meeting, that I know snow was gonna be an issue when it starts flying. We've had some conversations internally about getting the bridge, the 1-ton truck with the snow plow on the front of it up to our Wolf Creek operator, just so that maybe he can go up there and plow that to get some of the snow out of those berm areas during the winter. He can't use the big orange snow plow, of course, that's too large, but we do have some options at the county shop that we might be able to bring up in a temporary location for him to do that snow removal periodically to help with that control. So yes, we will look at that. So that was trying to address that comment. So going to Mr. Barrett's questions, as far as that moving things forward there. Sorry, I'm trying to think back to comments.
He had the snow question. Do I have a snow question?
Snow as well, and
Snow
the
as
cement
well.
barriers, if there's an alternative to the cement barriers.
Yeah. We don't, at this time, Kevin, I don't think we have any alternatives to the snow barriers on the Jersey rails. We had to send documentation to MDT to verify that our signage, our traffic controls with the Jersey rails and the posting controlled that enforcement liability based upon MDT's approval of that. So I don't think that they're gonna get us, we can explore options with them to see if there's something different that they would have ideas on to control that. But those Jersey barrels are probably gonna be what it is. But if we do some snow removal with that equipment, that's gonna help that process through there.
So just to explain that better, the reason you said that essentially we have to limit the weight or we risk closure.
Yes.
So if we just had, reflector signs are saying, guiding people through there, those could easily be pulled, moved, put back, and the Jersey rails can't. So the only way that we really could get the okay to, we had to have something that really would not allow someone to move things aside, get a heavy load across and move them back.
Right, and
Right.
Mr. Chairman, that's a great point. I mean, it's
Not
been-
that anyone here would do that, but it's
Right,
possible.
Right, and it's been posted, as you guys know, for a long time, years, a certain 8 tons, and then it dropped down to 5 tons. So the signs are the limiting factor just to prevent those load ratings for those postings. If, that is also an enforcement tool. If you exceed that, that's, you're in violation of the sign that's been posted. Since the heavy load went across that bridge when MDT inspector was on site, and we have pictures in the file based upon inspection report, that's when MDT says, evidently the detour of the signage was not enough to enforce the standard of that load limit. Also, if you had a temporary barrier or a road closure sign that could help with the snow removal, that also is something that could be easily removed or just ignored, and bring a trailer through there, and move those back into place versus what the Jersey rails are. So, and the Jersey rails can also be moved, and hopefully that won't happen, because we're gonna have to have a different conversation at that stage of the game as far as just what it might look like if those start getting out of whack or are getting moved from the location, so.
You
You know,
just
I
wanted to
feel like I'm just a totally bearer of
explain to
bad
folks
news,
that-
but we're passing on what we've got and where we're at in this stage of the game based upon where the situation is. So we're looking at those things moving forward. I think both of the representative and the senators talked about the long-term funding. You know, if there is funding next session, we're gonna be watching session very closely. The minute we have the availability to get a design in place or getting some ideas of the plan, we're gonna jump on the ground to get that funding request in, figure out what we would need to do to match that with any money from the county. We will bring that back to the commissioners for consideration if we're able to get some money, even if it's a little bit of Senate Bill 536 money or future money. And we just need to kind of piecemeal and leverage funding where we can leverage it to get the process moving forward.
So right now, we're trying to get to the point where we can get a design in place, so we have at least an estimate of what we might really
Right.
need. Right now, it's just all guesstimation of what
Right.
this might cost.
And Chairman, it's also to try to find the best type and size and location of the bridge. You know, where it's currently at is gonna be a very long span bridge to get over the wetlands and the water that flows through that area. And I appreciate Representative Worth's comment about the Dearborn, additional money, water coming in the Dearborn, because that is gonna help environmentally and what that looks like. So we have to look at the 25-year flood event, we have to look at the hydraulic flows, we have to look at how much you need to span, what those wetlands are. So if we can find a better location that's just a little bit downstream where there's no wetlands on a particular map location, then that might be a shorter bridge. It might provide a modular bridge structure. It might provide other options that are not as costly as what the bridge would be at the current location to replace it. So that's what we're also looking at. So first foremost is a detour or something that we can put into the environmental through a temporary basis. Second is the type, size, and location of the type of bridge we would like to do, and then get a design in place and get the funding for that permanent replacement bridge.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions? Please, Commissioner Rowe.
As we've been working on this, I think that the key to it, that maybe is the frustrating part that we have to deal with, is we can't just go to DOT and say, we'd like to have you reserve, we think about so many dollars for a bridge. We have to go in with a specific plan for how we're gonna use that money. And that's the key. That's why we've got the engineers coming to try to get that done. So we have to have a specific plan in place, if I understand it right, to be able to move forward. That's why the engineers, that's why the negotiations with the surrounding landholders, so that we can move forward with something specific. We know where we're headed. It's gonna take longer than I was hoping that it was gonna take. That's the nature of government, but we're gonna push it as fast as we possibly can. I'm confident that these two over here who understand the process and understand what it's gonna take are the key to getting this done, and they will work for you. We, as far as what the commission has to do, we will move as fast as we humanly possible for you. We understand it's a safety concern for people. It's a commercial concern for those of you who have your livelihood on the other side of that bridge. It's important to us as it is to you. We will work on it. Thanks, Commissioner.
I just have one comment regarding the meeting at the bridge that Commissioner Rawl attended and Commissioner Hunthausen and Commissioner Payne did not attend. We are limited, if we have more than one county commissioner show up at any meeting, it's a quorum, and we will have to notice it up for, I don't know, a certain amount of time, and so, it isn't that we don't care, it's just, if we show up, it turns it into a formal meeting, we've gotta have it noticed and posted and all this kind of stuff, and it is very difficult to do business in a county like ours, where, you know, a been friends for years and know each other and try to work together, but we can't talk to each other about business. When we ride up here in the same car, we talk about history or, you know, the animals we see or something. But it is very frustrating to not be able to go to this bridge meeting where all three of us really care, wanna do something. We can't do it, sorry. So,
Thanks
didn't
for
want
the
you to think you were being neglected.
Just one more question, comment. I think we've been in touch with Cascade County as well. And there's a lot, it's a very, it seems obvious, like, hey, a lot of people live just over the line in Cascade that use this bridge all the time. But I'm paraphrasing here, talking about their response, but essentially it's like, well, we have 80, 100 of our own bridges we're dealing with. You know, good luck with that. We aren't ready to help probably.
Chairman, you're correct, after we, before we even had the Augusta Government Day last month, we were on the phone with Cascade County as well. In addition, we looked at, some of this, part of this road is a DAR road, a defense access road, because of the missile silos. And there's a missile silo on one side of the road, there's a missile silo on the other side, but the military accesses from the other side. So we actually explored the opportunity or the options as far as whether or not there'd be DAR funding available through Maelstrom on that front. But we called Cascade County, and then Kevin and I even talked about it driving up today, that we're gonna reach out to Cascade County again. Just to see, and then depending upon that dialogue, I may ask the commissioners to call the commissioners up in Cascade County to see if that is any help on that end. I don't think they're gonna pitch in money for the bridge because they have their own bridge problems associated with that county. All the counties are struggling with those efforts. But maybe if there's a way they can maintain some of that road on the other end to make it a little bit more passable, or if we could partner on a project to do that.
2 ways in and
So
out.
we have 2 ways in and out,
Year-round.
but, the
Be
word we
pretty
got
challenging.
was, the word they got, they said, no, they won't do anything with that. You guys live in that, and that's where things are at.
Yeah,
but-
that's, I mean,
And we're really just
Go look at the road.
trying to explore, all possible options, in the sense that we can explore why we're working on the ultimate solution, but the detour is the one that we're trying to do right away.
yeah, I'm sorry. It's an unlikely fantasy that there'd be two all-weather roads in and out. But, I mean, that, Cascade County would be probably like much more willing to look at that than paying for a bridge in Lewis and Clark County. So they're not gonna do that probably. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, thank you. Just a comment. Thanks Barbara and Joe for the comments on that. I'm just gonna be straight up on snow. I do have some thoughts of some additional equipment. You guys know that country. I mean, we get power, and wind's gonna blow, and it's gonna drift. I mean, and it's gonna happen. I will, you know, Sean's our main guy in the Wolf Creek area. We're concerned about it too. We really are. It's gonna drift around those barriers. Joe's absolutely 100% correct. And I was thinking back when Augusta got pounded, I think it was 2017 or 18, and some of them drifts were 6-8 feet deep. Took us a month and a half to dig people out in this country. I appreciate those. I'm gonna try to give them some extra equipment and treat it more as a bus route where it's a top priority for us. I'm not gonna sit here and make any promises because we all know what's gonna happen there. We're just gonna try to do the best we can to keep it open for you. The other thing I think I was thinking about is, we've talked a lot about funding, we've talked a lot about time frames when we're talking years to get replacements. Our team's gonna be working on that, but right now, we're in priority 2 mode. And priority 2 mode for us is finding access around this thing in one way, shape, or form. That's my priority. I know that's Jenny's priority. We talked to the Dearborn with Ryan in depth this morning. We've had emails from him going to Mr. Siebel. You know, we need to visit with Mr. Thompson a little bit too. That task order that we have with Great West right now is for a portion of that is how do we get around this right now? And a comment that I heard this morning about some of our permitting and stuff, when Carl said that, I said, that's not good enough. We need to do better, was my exact comment, and we don't have that kind of time frames. Am I pushy? Absolutely, but I'm doing it on your guys' behalf. So we will try in the next couple of weeks to get that task order dialed in. We'll have some design work. We'll deal with, you know, Art or Ryan and Tom to figure out how we can get a bypass around that as fast as possible. I'll reach out to our other consultants, other contractors that are in the bridge business. I'm looking for materials, I'm looking for temporary bridges, I'm looking for whatever it takes from a design standard, and you got my word on that. It's not gonna happen tomorrow, but I'll work on it almost every day until we can get something in place for you folks. So, I mean that wholeheartedly and sincerely when I say that. Anybody that knows me, that's ever worked with me, that's how I roll. And if you have any questions, any thoughts, anything, I mean, we've had so much happen in the last week of ideas and thoughts and where do we go, and that's our main priority, and I want everybody to know that up front. It's gonna take years to get money, it's gonna take years to put a new structure in there. Our thing right now is how do we get around this right now, and, you know, Tom and Ryan are gonna be our key players in this, so, our partners, I should say, so. I just wanted to clarify that because it is gonna go over, it's gonna be quite a while by the time we secure all that, you guys, and just being realistic. So right now, we gotta figure out, commissioners, how we get around this thing right now. So that's where we're at as of this morning.
Well, thank you very much, and both of you, I'm assuming, will be around after if folks wanted to
For sure.
stay and talk with them and have more questions and answer. We're more than willing to do that.
May I just present?
Well, you'd have to come back up, please.
Okay.
Introduce yourself
I
again.
am Barbara Warning. Thank you, commissioners, and for everything that you do. I have one more thing that is hanging in the back of my head about this. This is taxpayer dollars, we all know that. But what kind of litigation liability are we setting ourselves up for if somebody's in trouble and there's no way out of it? There's no way in there to help them, and there's no way out of there to help them. And that has to be in the back of everyone's mind here.
Yes.
Something like this happens, and the county is gonna be liable in a massive lawsuit. And in today's world, there's no way to win it. And so the taxpayer dollars are gonna be in jeopardy for that again. And that's my last blow on this. I appreciate everything that you're doing and the work that's going into this. I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. They are going to be around for comment and questions and afterwards, but since I allowed someone else to go up after we were basically done, if there's any other comment related to this, please make it now. Come on up and, okay, we'll move on and both Director Chambers and Operations Director Horn will be around after the meeting. We'll move on. I don't think Kyle and Adam's here, right? So no report from the Forest Service today. So Dinah, we'll move right on to public health. Each month, just for those that aren't regular attenders, each month we have a different public health kind of focus, and Dinah's gonna introduce herself and then tell us all about it this month's topic.
Now it's afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Nina Heinzinger, and I am the Licensed Establishment Supervisor for Lewis and Clark County. I oversee the health inspectors that work throughout the county and inspect the various places that the health department licenses. There's about 20 establishments up here in the Augusta area that we come and inspect on a yearly basis. In terms of that, there's about 700 in the county that we inspect, and that includes things like, obviously, your restaurants, your grocery stores, your public accommodations, so your hotels, but also out like Sun Canyon Lodge. Interesting, our inspector drives out there every year and looks at their accommodations. Some of the farther out campgrounds, like Scalpana is on our list too. But we have a lot of different places that we look at. We also inspect your local pool, trailer courts and campgrounds and such. So we look at a lot of different establishments here. And really the purpose of us working with you, we issue those licenses. We go through a plan review process to make sure that everything's in place to protect public health. before those places open. We try to work in a partnership with our licensed establishment. And we do come and inspect, and mostly our inspections are meant to verify that the systems in place are working. And if they're not working, we try to work with that operator to protect the health of the public that they're serving. Whether it's on a daily basis for some of your restaurants and things like that, or more seasonally at some of your other establishments. But we're really there to work with them, making sure that the public is safe and that what they're providing to the public is going to be safe for the public and make sure that people don't get sick. Our team also spends time investigating outbreaks. We haven't had any that I'm aware of up here in Augusta, fortunately, but we do work with individuals if we do have something occur where a number of people get sick, and we work with them as well. And then we also are just mainly a resource for people in terms of information. We get a lot of calls about new possibilities, new businesses. We haven't had a lot up here in Augusta. We do have a new one going in, kind of down by Bowman's Corner, but we've had a little bit of turnover in terms of ownership of places up here. We haven't really had any new ones lately up here, so. Questions for me about anything to deal with our licensed establishments or our processes and stuff?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I know we're talking about spending money when you talk to the commissioners. What does it cost to go up and do an inspection versus what they pay for their license to be, when you go up and do this?
Okay.
Can we talk
So,
about
yeah,
how we
yeah,
pay for
yeah.
this?
So the funding for our program comes both from our license fees as well as from the general mill. And right now, the license fees that the individuals pay only covers about 20% of our costs in terms of that. So our license fees range anywhere from about $40 up to, I think the highest one right now is $200 for the pools. But in terms of what it costs for us to, obviously our inspector has to drive up here. We do have one inspector that does this area. She usually comes to a couple different establishments. But usually we're spending anywhere from an hour to 2 hours in an establishment during that inspection, talking with the owners, seeing what's working, what's not working, any concerns that they have at that time or anything that we see concerning as well. So we're talking about a cost often of those inspections of, obviously paying the person for that time and the associated costs with travels, but we usually figure most of our inspections, if they were just to drive up and do one place and back, we're talking a couple $100 for that time and effort to get up here.
The other interesting thing that I sit on the public health board, so the cost of licensing the food area of Costco versus the cost of licensing the restaurant here in
Oh, yeah,
Augusta.
they pay the same.
They pay
Buckhorn
the same.
and Costco pay the same amount.
That doesn't seem right.
It doesn't make sense, so
Legislature
unfortunately,
can't do that.
yeah, our retail food places just have two categories, a small, which is 2 or less employees, and a large, which is 3 or more. And it's written in statute, so we can't change it.
Yeah,
Um,
but
so
you
they-
guys can.
They pay they pay $85 a year if they are small and $115 if they are large. So our good old Costco in Helena pays $115, just like our lovely bars over here, the Buckhorn and
Yeah.
such. So yeah.
So,
Yeah.
just to add a little meat to that bone, since we do have our fine legislators here today. There is a movement amongst the public health organizations and public health departments around the country. MACO's on board as well. Our last MACO meeting, I'm on the Health and Human Services Committee there, and we passed I don't think we passed a resolution. We did
Yes.
Because I think the resolution's gonna come from, one of the health organizations. But the intent will be to bring a bill forward to try, do some equalization, because, again, Lewis and Clark County, I think we spend about $350,000 on our inspection program a year.
Yeah.
And only about 20% of that comes from the fees that are charged to a Costco or a Buckhorn or whatever it might be. And, I think the intent, and it's in law that this is what you get.
All of our-
It's not in rulemaking, so I think that the hope is that, you know, obviously the public and the public taxpayer has a responsibility and a interest in making sure that the restaurants and food is safe, pools are safe, nursing homes are safe, all of that kind of stuff. But obviously those businesses have, an interest in that as well. So getting closer to 50-50, that we share the cost, public and the businesses share the cost in terms of those annual inspections, is the hope, and I think that's what we, likely coming before the legislature. I think.
Our fees are set in statute, unlike a lot of other fees.
They're done in rulemaking, right?
Yeah, so most fees are set in rulemaking, but in terms of licensed establishments, they're set in statute. And they have been, I think, the last one was changed in 2009, was an increase in fees, so it's been a long time since those fees have increased, and obviously our costs have increased over the last many years. And some of those fees have not increased for several years.
They're long outdated,
before that.
for
Yeah.
sure, yeah. So, anyway, just for your awareness, and these guys do a great job, and I just want, something that I think I mentioned when we were in Lincoln last week, Nina, is that this isn't a gotcha program. We're not trying to catch people, or restaurants or whatever, and don't eat here, that kind of thing. We're really trying to be a partner and help them and educate them and make sure that they understand the best practices in food preparation and the way to keep their customers safe, and so they'll keep coming back as well.
Yeah.
One of the worst things that could happen is they have a problem and then they get that reputation as well, and that really hurts their business. So
Yeah.
we try to work with them. If we get a complaint, hey, I went to restaurant X and it looked really dirty, they go in and try and say, hey, how can we help? You
Yeah.
know, we don't want you to get dinged, you know, is there a way we can help you develop a plan to keep your place safe? And so there isn't this gotcha thing that some people think, oh, the health inspectors are coming to get us, you know. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
speak to that a little.
And we do try to work closely with our operators in terms of, you know, putting systems in place that are going to work. And for each operator, it's different, because all of our establishments here obviously have their own little character and have their own system to work with. We've got some very old buildings in town that they're working out of, as well as some newer ones, and being able to provide the public, you guys, so that we're not getting a call later on that somebody's sick with salmonella or E. coli. And it's also, I'm sure you guys have, how many of you have heard of recalls lately in the news?
Yes.
Across the nation, there's been a lot of recalls of foods that have been contaminated, and we really work to inform our operators if there is product that we know that they've received that they need to pull. So they will get a notice from us, a call often, depending, especially up here in Augusta, more calls than anything else, because emails, they don't look at as much, so we do notify them and let them know that something needs to come off the shelf, or out of their cooler, so that people don't get sick, so.
Well, thank you
Yeah.
very much. So another opportunity, any public comment, questions, thoughts for the health department, or what you heard today? Happy to listen. Again, come up to the, please, Senator, come on up.
I'll just do this real quick, 'cause I'm sure
We'd
everybody's
love to
got-
hear all about it.
Yeah, Butch Gillespie, Senate District 9, and I was just yesterday visiting with some of the co-op people, and farmers markets come up and whatnot, so, and this is something that we were a bit concerned about on that. Could you elaborate without a lot of time, but just touch on that anyway?
Oh, okay. So farmers markets are regulated under the food laws, but there's been some more recent laws, I'm not sure if you're you're familiar with the Montana Local Food Choice Act that was passed first in 2019, or I think it was 2019, then some modifications in 21 and 23, but, so that allows people to sell homemade food and agricultural products are not covered under, our purview. That's under the Department of Agriculture. And we do have laws written where unprocessed produce can be sold without a license. But in terms of the health department, but Department of Ag has their own licensing program for producers. There's been a lot of confusion, and that's maybe what you're hearing from your different people about what can be made and what can't be made. We're really trying to work with some of the partners. I know that the state health department is trying to work with some of the partners like Arrow, who has, works more with producers in terms of clarifying that information. And they've actually been putting together, Arrow and MSU Extension has been putting together a series of informational talks about the Montana Local Food Choice Act and what's allowed underneath it and what's not, to help kind of clarify that information for local producers. But we do want to see an opportunity for our local producers to be able to sell their foods, but it's limited in terms of its scope. Obviously, we don't want to see people selling like hamburgers cooking on the side of the road because there's a lot of risk with that. But somebody selling their homemade baked goods, you know, their cookies at Christmas time, not a lot of risk there. Except if they don't wash these two things before they do things. And that's probably the way you're gonna keep people safe, is making sure that you wash your hands and that the people preparing food are washing their hands. Yeah, but there is gonna be more information out there, and if you do go on the Arrow website, they're starting to put together a whole series of information, and I think it's well put together. MSU Extension has really worked hard to collect information from the various partners as well. So
Could you tell us what Arrow, I assume it's an
Arrow
acronym?
is the Alternative Energy Resource Organization.
AERO.
AERO.
Thank you.
But they work
Not good with acronyms.
closely with producers throughout the state of Montana in terms of these smaller producers of various products. So they have really partnered in terms of they want to provide support to those people and connect them to the right places, and making sure that they're following the law, but also open up opportunities for our local ranchers and producers to be able to have some value-added products, because it is important, you know?
And they're over 30 years old, they're not
Yeah,
just
yeah.
new, they've been doing it for
Yeah.
starting
And
in the 90s.
yeah, it's a good partnership because they can collect the information from the various agencies and put it together from the producer side rather than from the regulator side. And in terms of the Montana Local Food Choice Act, that was passed by the state with lacking some information in it. And so that's why I think we've seen the subsequent bills to try to clarify things, because people have interpreted things differently. And I think there's some more bills coming this legislature to try to clarify some of the things that people have interpreted differently in terms of applying that information. So,
Thank you, appreciate it. Is there any other public comment, or questions for the health department? Thank you very much again for being here, really appreciate
Okay.
it coming today. It's been a value-added
Yeah.
agenda item in the last, we just started this year, so health department's been coming to our meetings. And to that point, I'll just make this comment, and that is that I think we should consider ourselves lucky, and I am grateful and that we're doing this, but I would say most, if not all, of the other counties really hold all of their public meetings at the county seat. And so we have had a commitment to hold one official commission meeting, first Friday of the month in Lincoln, second Friday of the month in Augusta. And I know that other counties will hold a special meeting for a project or something off somewhere, but I don't know of any other counties that hold a regular meeting in the different parts of their county. And so I'm proud that we do that. And I want people to know that we do that because we want to come out and make sure that people are heard in this community. This community is different than Helena. This community is different than Lincoln. And so we have that opportunity. We hope that people appreciate that. And we intend to keep doing it, I believe. And we're grateful to do so.
These are my favorite, the ones in Lincoln and Augusta are way more fun than the ones in town.
Good.
They are.
I'm glad. Well, our next meeting is January 10th is what we're intending to. We're intending to be here on January 10th. We'll plan for that. And with that, we always do this. Is there any public comment that is something that is under the jurisdiction of the commission but not on today's agenda? Anybody like to make any other public comment? Any other public? Please, Brian. Come on up. Come on down. These guys have been here a long time. They usually get to speak from wherever they stand. But we're training them.
Because that's easier and quicker, it makes the meeting shorter. I just want to thank everybody. My name is Brian Moody, President of the Seniors, Vice President of the Historical Society. What we need to do is all work together. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Commissioners, anything you'd like to add to the good of the order? All right, a good public meeting. Again, Public Works will be here afterwards to visit with you, anybody who would like to. Thank you all for being here. We'll stand adjourned.